Hey everyone, we are jumping right into things today because I am absolutely thrilled to share this explainer with you. We're going to explore a story that perfectly combines the hardcore thrill of scientific discovery with just a really incredible human element. Seriously, if you've ever wondered what it takes for life to survive against all odds in the harshest environments imaginable, you are exactly where you need to be. So grab your mental field gear because we're traveling back over 100 million years to uncover the amazing story of a completely unique dinosaur and the dedicated family that actually brought it into the light. But first, let me ask you something. Think back to when you were a kid. What was the absolute ultimate childhood birthday gift? For most 12-year-olds, it might be a new bike, the latest video game console, or maybe an epic party. But what if I told you that one 12-year-old girl received something that literally cemented her name in history for millions of years? No way, right? Well, she got an entire newly discovered species of dinosaur named after her. Let's look at exactly how that happened. So picture this. It's the early 1980s, and a team of paleontologists, volunteers, and students are beginning these really grueling excavations. They're working in the incredibly difficult, muddy coastal tunnels of Dinosaur Cove in Victoria, Australia. It was honestly backbreaking work, but a massive breakthrough finally came in 1987, when the team unearthed a crucial, beautifully preserved skull specimen in the Umarella Formation. Just 2 years later, in 1989, this incredible new species was formally described and named, and the leaders of this unstoppable team, the paleontologist couple, Dr. Tom Rich and Patricia Vickers-Rich. Section 1. Meet Leaelyn's lizard, the ultimate family project. 12. That is exactly how old Leaelyn Rich was when this dinosaur was formally named after her. Now, you might be wondering, was she just hanging out while her parents did the heavy lifting? Not at all. Young Leaelyn was a highly active volunteer. She was right down there in the dirt, literally digging alongside her parents, Tom and Patricia, and the rest of the crew in those really challenging coastal tunnels. So getting this dinosaur named after her wasn't just some cute gift. It was a genuine, hard-earned acknowledgement of her enthusiasm and grit out in the field. And the scientific name itself, Leaellynasaura amigographica, actually tells a pretty wonderful story. Let's break that down. Leaellynasaura literally translates from Greek to Leaelyn's lizard, obviously honoring our 12-year-old excavator. But that second part, amigographica, is just as crucial. It translates to friend writing. Tom and Patricia deliberately chose this to honor the financial supporters who made those difficult Dinosaur Cove digs even possible to begin with, specifically the Friends of the Museum of Victoria and the National Geographic Society. It's just a fantastic nod of gratitude permanently built right into the animal's identity. Now, Leaellynasaura wasn't some towering, earth-shaking behemoth. Actually, it was a small ornithotod, a really lightweight, bipedal dinosaur measuring only about 1 to 3 meters long and weighing in at an estimated 8 kilograms, so pretty small. It had long arms and legs, 4-toed feet, and this little beak perfectly designed for nipping at vegetation. It was totally built to zip quickly through the undergrowth. But to really understand how this creature operated, we have to talk about where it lived. Section 2. Surviving the polar night, the extreme habitat. Usually, when we think about the age of dinosaurs, what pops into our heads? Lush, tropical swamps, blazing sunshine, right? Warm weather all year round. But the reality for Leaellynasaura, living 110 to 118 million years ago during the early Cretaceous, was vastly different. Thanks to continental drift, the landmass of Victoria, Australia, was located way down within the Antarctic Circle. Now, sure, it was warmer than Antarctica is today, but it was still an absolutely extreme polar environment. Because of the Earth's tilt, the sun literally would not rise above the horizon for weeks or even months at a time during the winter. We're talking freezing conditions and prolonged total darkness. So, what exactly is on the menu when the sun doesn't shine for months and you're stuck in a freezing cold temperate forest? Well, Leaellynasaura was an herbivore. Its diet consisted entirely of incredibly hardy plants that grew low to the ground and could weather those brutal polar conditions. We are talking about horsetails, cycads, and ferns. As a little bipedal browser, it would just use its beak to quickly snap up these tough plants hidden away in the dense river valleys. Section 3. Built for the dark, evolutionary superpowers. How does a small 8-kilogram animal survive a harsh, freezing winter in absolute pitch-black darkness? It takes a specialized biological survival kit. Step 1.
The skull fragment of Leaellynasaura reveals exceptionally large eye sockets. These massive eyes were perfectly adapted to pull in whatever faint, low light was available during that dark winter. Step 2, the skull also shows proportionally enlarged optic lobes in the brain. That means it actually had the neurological processing power to make sense of what it saw in the dark. It literally evolved to be active in low light. And step 3, a massive, fluffy tail to deal with the biting cold.
The magic number here is 3, because the tail of Leaellynasaura wasn't just long, it was 3 times as long as the rest of its entire body combined. Out of all known ornithischian dinosaurs, it boasts the longest relative tail. And here's the kicker. Unlike more advanced dinosaurs, it lacked those stiffening, ossified tendons in its tail. It was highly, highly flexible. Researchers believe this let the dinosaur wrap its long, fluffy tail completely around its body, almost like a built-in winter scarf, to survive those freezing temperatures. Just a brilliantly clever adaptation. And that brings us to a really massive scientific revelation. Because surviving freezing polar temperatures and staying highly active during a completely dark winter, that strongly suggests Leaellynasaura was endothermic. Yep, warm-blooded. For the longest time, the old textbook assumption was that all dinosaurs were just these slow, cold-blooded tropical reptiles. Discovering a dinosaur thriving in Antarctic conditions fundamentally shattered that idea. This little creature was out there generating its own body heat. Section 4. A family dinosaur legacy. Now, while Leaellynasaura was a totally groundbreaking discovery, she wasn't alone. You see, Leaellyna had a brother named Tim. And sure enough, their parents, Tom Rich and Patricia Vickers Rich, eventually named another dinosaur in honor of him and their colleague, the paleontologist Tim Flannery. That dinosaur was T-Mimus, an ornithomimosaur found right in the very same region. It absolutely cements the Rich family's story as one of the most incredible, one-of-a-kind legacies of paleontological naming out there. And it wasn't just the scientific community that took notice of this. People loved this story. By 1993, Leaellynasaura was featured on a beautifully illustrated 45-cent Australian postage stamp, becoming a celebrated, iconic symbol of Australian paleontology. It even crossed over into pop culture, showing up in massive documentaries like the BBC's Walking with Dinosaurs. It's an incredible reminder to the whole world of Australia's rich and entirely unique prehistoric past. So this leaves us with a pretty fascinating, provocative thought. We used to think dinosaurs strictly lived in warm, tropical climates. But if a small, 8-kilogram dinosaur could evolve massive eyes, a highly complex brain, and a huge, fluffy scarf-like tail just to thrive in the freezing, pitch-black winter of the Antarctic Circle, well, what other extreme environments on Earth might be hiding undiscovered fossils? What other absolutely impossible creatures are just waiting under the ice or deep in the rocks for the next generation of 12-year-old explorers to come along and dig them up? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I will see you next time.